Okay, you guys, so today we're talking about John chapter 10. This is just a continuation of chapter 9, where Jesus is having a conversation with the Pharisees. He just healed the blind man. And so now he's starting to get deep, but he's also going to get metaphorical in this particular chapter. The interesting thing about this, he uses a sheep shepherd analogy. Sheep and shepherd is like a really prominent metaphor that uses all the time. There's many uses in John and in the other gospels as well. Let me just kind of break this down because all this metaphorical usage that Jesus is using can sometimes get confusing. So I'm going to break down the first 5 verses and then we can kind of discuss it. Verse 1, let me just read it to you because that's going to be much easier for you to kind of see what I'm talking about, and then I'll break it down. In John chapter 10, truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. Verse 6, this figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying. Many of us won't understand what he's saying when we're looking at this. Let me just break it down. Verse 1, he says that the one who doesn't come in by the gate is a thief and a robber. And in verse 2, he says the legitimate shepherd comes in by the gate. In verse 3, he says the gatekeeper, and we're going to talk about who that is, recognizes the true shepherd and lets him in, and the sheep hear the voice of the shepherd and recognize that it's the shepherd's voice. Since he knows them by name, he leads them out of the sheep pen, right? In verse 4, he then brings out all of the sheep out of the pen. He goes before them, so leads them, and they follow because they know his voice. In verse 5, Jesus says that the sheep will not follow a stranger's voice. As a matter of fact, they will flee from a stranger's voice because they don't know his voice. They don't recognize it, so they're not going to follow. Now, when we're trying to think about what this means, we're going to break it down, and I'm going to give you basically the answer to this. So Jesus is calling himself the true shepherd of the people of God, that the true people of God will only listen to him. Me being a believer, you being a believer, we're only going to listen to him, even though others will try to lead us somewhere else into sin or deception. And Jesus leads us to pasture and to nourishment and provision. He's the one teaching, and he knows each of us by name and has a purpose for each of us, and that he will lead our lives in such a way that we will follow him because we recognize his voice, his truth. His word is the truth, and that is the truth about reality and his will for our lives, and that we will not follow, as real believers, anyone else because we don't know the false teacher. We don't recognize the false teacher, and they certainly don't know us. So false teaching wouldn't be something that a real true disciple would engage in. We are the Lord's and he is ours. So no deception will be able to lead us away from his voice or his word. The ability to hear and respond to Jesus's voice, that's what makes a disciple. That is what a disciple is. The breakdown of verses 1 through 5, which is it's difficult to understand. Like when you first read it, you got to read it a few times and maybe in a few different translations to kind of get it. But verses 1 and 2, that speaks to the authority to lead God's people. Who has authority to lead God's people? That's Jesus. Verse 3, it refers to the gatekeeper who lets in the true shepherd. Now this one threw me for a spin for a bit because I was trying to understand who it was. It's actually God the Father, because God the Father has given authority to Jesus over all creation. And that word in the Greek actually means like gate warden. God the Father is the gate warden, and that's used here. In verse 4 and 5, Jesus is leading the sheep, right? He's leading them. He's bringing them out of the sheep pen. Reminds me of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. That's what I wanted to just break down because this passage was a little bit difficult to understand. Verse 6, nobody knew what he was talking about. Most people are not going to know what he's talking about, so I'm bringing it to you guys here. That's what I had for you on chapter 10 of John, verses 1 through 5.